I'm so glad you could join me here today. Today we're going to do a nice little interesting painting. I hope anyone could follow along. So let me run the colors across the screen that you'll need to paint along with me. While you're doing that, let me tell you what I cut then up here. On my regular 16 by 20 inch canvas, pre-stretched, double primed, and on the top layer around 1/3 of the canvas, I put liquid white. Now make sure it's a thin layer. And at the bottom, I put a thin layer of liquid clear. And in between, I let it just blend out and whatever. I just want the bottom to have neutral colors. Like I don't want the values to change, and the top I want it to change due to the sky and everything. So let's get started with today's video. Hopefully they ran the colors across the screen by now, and we could get started. So let's go into a little bit of phthalo blue. If you have one brush only, I would recommend you start off putting the liquid clear and then the liquid white. So then you don't contaminate the clear before you put the white. So just doing crisscross strokes just to block in our sky. Just like so. Crisscross applesauce. I was thinking today, I always put a cabin in a painting and I say, oh, what a lucky person. Whoever lives here or who wouldn't want to be here. I thought we could do one mainly about a cabin, like a big old cabin in the center. So I thought today we could do just that. So just like so, just blend it until you're satisfied with what you have. Just go across lightly. And just like that, you have yourself a nice little sky. Just blending out a bit more. So there will be no harsh lines. And let's go ahead. Let's add a cloud in today's painting. So for that, I'm going to grab a 1-inch brush. And I'm going to pull it through thoroughly through the titanium white. It'll round off a side on your brush. That side faces up. Come up here. Just with the corner of that brush. I want a big old cloud. I want a cloud that looks like a storm's coming in. But in reality, it's just a nice fluffy white cloud. Look at that. Now, I'm going to beat my brush. And with the same brush that I painted the sky with, I'm going to blend out the base. Just using the corner, and you just want to blend out the base of that cloud. You don't want to touch the top part yet. So just the base. Blend it out. Now for the top, lift it up. Just lift it. And to get those lines out, all you do is just go across. Very lightly. Just like that, you have yourself a simple little cloud. Now, let's go ahead. I thought today we could focus on a cabin today. So we'll do just that. We'll grab some Van Dyke Brown, some dark sienna, and ivory black. Just mix it on your palette. Let's come up here, cut a roll. So lay it out flat, cut a roll. You'll get that roll of paint on the edge of your knife. And let's come up here to the canvas. And, or you know what? I'm gonna change up the painting a bit. Let's go ahead. Let's add in some few evergreen trees. So the first thing I'm gonna do is decide where I want my trees to live. Maybe one there, Another one there, there. I'm just using the line. I'm going to use the lines as guides as to how tall the trees should look and all that good stuff. So just loading up my brush. Come up here. I put too much pressure at the top. That's our little secret. Don't tell no one. Unless you buy this painting, then you'll know my secret. Which, if you're interested, you can let me know in the comments. You can let me know through a message in Instagram, or I'll try to post it on eBay. So just tap out these trees. Just like so. Maybe another one lives right along there. Now you may notice my trees were coming out, or are coming out, a bit more wider at the top. And I'm doing that on purpose now. At first it was a mistake, but now I'm doing that on purpose in order to show you what you can do if something like that were to happen to you, which I think it's almost happened to everyone in their painting journey, where the top of the tree looks too thick. Something like so. Fill in that gap. You know what? Yeah. Well, nah, I'm gonna just leave that alone. Just adding the base color for these trees, and just like so. Just tap with the corner of your fan brush and just tap those trees out. You live in your brush, you just gotta tap them out. Okay. Shoot. Right over here, there does now live a evergreen tree. Kind of planned that one out with the line I put in the center. But in your painting, if you paint this, you can put as much or as little um, trees as you want. And your trees don't have to look exactly like mine. And I'm going to show you what I mean that they don't have to look like mine. I'm going to show you examples of different ways your trees can look. For example, we're going to use this one as a prime example. Let's say here's the tree. Just like so, you have a tree. It's just a bit more naked. I call those naked trees. But I'm gonna fill it in. It's just personal preference. But just tap. Can't stress enough about that. That's all you gotta do. Just tap those trees out. Tap, tap, tap. Shoot. Let's finish off with these 4 trees left. And just like so. You're just, there needs to be some shadow. Light on light, you have nothing. Dark on dark, everything just blends in. You need to have some light and some dark in order for everything to pop out. And it's like in real life. You need to have some bad luck and good luck. You have bad times and good times. Can't just have all good, because then we wouldn't appreciate it. You gotta have those bad times in order to appreciate those good times coming. And I act like I'm so wise and everything, but I'm not that wise. It's just real life. We all had just great times. We wouldn't appreciate them because it's something usual. And if we had all bad times, we wouldn't be that sad because we'd be used to it. So you have to have a mix of the two in order to appreciate both. It's just like in painting. You need to have shadows in order to have highlights. And you need to have highlights in order to have shadows. Everything correlates. Okay, just like so. Now, I'm gonna go ahead, some sap green, load it onto my brush, and cadmium yellow. Just load that straight up on my fan brush. Now, I'm gonna grab a little touch of the liquid white just to thin out this paint, and so the paint could stick on better. Maybe a tad more, but don't overdo it. Okay, that's nice. Now, with the palette knife, you can just grab it, just lift up, and I'll make sure it doesn't look like you put too much pressure at the top. Just looks like a regular tree. Just like so. You decide what trees need it more than others. Just tap and slide up. Just like so. Okay, let's come up here. And just tapping in some highlight color. Try to keep this dark. I don't like to over mix it. Or not over mix it. Not over highlight it. That's the word I was looking for. Because it feels good um, that you're having success with it. And you fill up the whole painting and you just messed up. And you might have to restart all over again. And I don't want to do that. I want to finish a painting in no more than 30 minutes. Like, no more than like 40 minutes. I used to do them in an hour. Now, my new goal is to finish them before um, 25 minutes. But I still have a long way to go for that. I need to practice, practice, and practice in order to be able to get to that goal. Practice makes perfect. You can't expect results without putting in the work. So I'm just adding a bit more liquid white and paint onto my brush. Just like so. If the paint on one side of your brush runs out, just flip it to the other side. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. But keep loading your brush constantly. The biggest problem is not using enough paint. That's the problem everyone has, because everyone is a bit stubborn with the paint they use. Just filling in that spot. Okay. Just loading up my brush. Shoot, if it was up to me, this painting could go on for an hour. But that would be taking my sweet time and showing you guys every little detail. Now, with that roll of paint, let's come up here. Let's decide where our cabin lives. All our hard work thrown out the box. At least that's how some people feel. Maybe right there. I want this one to be a big old cabin. Okay? Zoom. Just lightly. And let's come up here. Just lightly. Just kind of shape your cabin out a bit. That's all we're doing right now. We don't care about anything else rather than shaping. Okay? Just repeat the same thing on the other side. Just filling in paint, really. Gotta mix up some more paint. Run out of that color. Just mixing it up pretty quickly on my palette. Okay. That's a cabin. Maybe. Sure. I don't know and I don't care. Okay. Okay. So we got that then. So I'm just gonna pile up that paint to the side. And let's come up here. I'm gonna put some dark sienna and Van Dyke brown and titanium white. Mix that up on your palette to your desire. Just don't overmix it. Leave it marbleized. Let's come up here. Now, decide whether you want paint breaks, you want logs, the look of logs. Depending on how you want it, that's the way you're gonna paint it. I want this one to seem as if there's logs holding it up. Today's been a long day for me, and tomorrow's probably gonna be an even longer day. But we all go through those days, and stick through it. Okay, just moving the direction of the logs, just like so. My audio cut off during this part, so I will be doing a voiceover so you could hear the process of what I'm doing in the painting. So right now, all I'm doing is putting in those logs to make the cabin seem like a cabin made out of logs. Maybe there wasn't some plywood left, and I added some Van Dyke brown into that color just to kind of dull it down a bit, and I created the roof color. And as you can see, I'm just trying to achieve some paint breaks for the roof. I want it to seem a bit different compared to the cabin itself. And throughout there, I'm just using gentle pressure, not much pressure. Just think about it as if you're you're doing your mountains. You're highlighting your mountains. That's how much of a light pressure you need. Although it's not a big task, it's still the same procedures. So keep that in mind. Now, I'm mixing up some more paint to add some logs to the side of the cabin. Just few little uh, lines of wood, or the look of wood at least. And right here, I grabbed a little bit of titanium white paint, and I'm using the white to outline the cabin. I'm making sure to scrub in that white so it kind of looks like a thinner line rather than a thick old white line of paint. If you put too much titanium white, it could ruin the illusion. Thus, I like to scrub it so the line gets thin and it just looks like a little highlight hitting here and there. So next, I'm adding in a door somewhere where someone could enter the cabin. You need a little door for a cabin. You can't just have a cabin or a building without a door. Any building has a door, at least one. You don't have to put windows. I didn't put windows in this. But if you guys want to put windows, feel free to put windows in your cabin. Right there, I was just showing you guys I was making some space in my palette, and I mixed up some ivory black, sap green, and just applying that base color onto the canvas just so I could add in some grass. I'm using tons of pressure there just to scrub in that paint. It doesn't matter how it looks in the middle, as long as you have that outside edge looking good, that's all that matters. And at the end, you will fix it up with your highlights. So this process doesn't really matter. As long as you get your base color on, that's all that's important. Just making sure not to ruin the space of the cabin. I would recommend you guys put the base color of your grass before you do the cabin. It's much easier. I made that mistake, and I'll make sure next time I don't do that mistake. So after all that, we can go straight into the highlighting process. So usually for grass, I like to mix up a mixture of sap green, cadmium yellow, and a touch of the base color or just ivory black just to darken it up a bit so it won't be too bright. And
Preferably, if you can, add some liquid white. I did add liquid white to this just so the paint could stick on better. A thin paint will stick onto a thicker paint, and also it just lightens up the color a bit. So make sure it's not a must have, but it makes your life way more easier if you just apply a little bit of liquid white onto your paint and your paintbrush. And work in layers. Don't just highlight the grass at random. Those layers is what helps your grass come together. Don't worry about speed. Speed comes with practice and years of experience. After a while of painting, you will become like me and be able to finish a painting pretty quickly. But I did not start off this way at the beginning. So if I'm going too fast, feel free to either slow the video down or pause the video at certain moments. Anything to help you guys understand or be able to catch up. So, right here, I'm going to add a fence in front of the cabin. You know, what's a good old cabin without a fence? Everyone needs to have their privacy. And I'm just making up these stories along the lines. You know, it always makes painting more fun when you make stories up. Like if someone's living in a property or something, rather than just uh, putting stuff just to put it. Make painting interesting. Make it a story. Think about the canvas as a template to a movie, and you're putting it to your likings. You're adjusting it so everyone could see your vision at the end of everything. And make sure you highlight these fence. Anything needs its highlights. Anything and everything you put needs a highlight. So make sure you highlight it. And on top of that, I'm adding a pathway. So I'm using dark color and I'm going over it with some light color in order to give it some highlights. I cannot stress how important it is to add in highlights. You must put in highlights for everything. If you exaggerate your highlights as well, it could ruin a painting. So make sure you don't exaggerate too much. Now, I'm going in with my fan brush with some dark color. I believe it's ivory black and Van Dyke brown. And I'm just plopping in the base color for some rocks that live in front of the painting. Just the good old base color. And now I'm adding in a few little trees in front of the painting and behind the rocks. I'm gonna set those trees behind the rocks just to put into perspective in the painting. I want to create depth. So before I even highlight the rocks, I'm putting in the base color. So when I highlight, everything comes together. And now I'm going into the tree, highlighting that first. So then when I highlight the rocks afterwards, it looks like um, the rocks are in front of the trees. So going ahead and just highlight those rocks. It'll set weird and it will look weird to you if you don't highlight. And I would recommend you put in shadows. Shadows, depending on the situation, not all the time it's 100% needed, but for the most part, shadows are needed. I would say about 85 to 80% shadows are required. So I'm putting some shadows in the rocks and into the trees just to keep everything balanced out, making sure you maintain that. With that, the video's done. I thank you guys for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video. And I'm sorry about the voiceover, but I hope you enjoyed the video. Until then, take care, my friend. Goodbye.